Welcome to another edition of Five Strands with Art del Cueto. It's a pleasure that you guys are watching, but it'd be even more of a pleasure if you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button and share. Subscribing is a big issue. However, sharing is a big issue to me too, because that's the only way we get our voices heard. We can sit here in an echo chamber, as I've said many times, and cheer each other on, but I think we got to move that needle. Then the way to move that needle is to, hey, share it with people that may not have exactly our political view. We're not going to change everyone's mind, but we may, get some people to think and say, you know what? Maybe everything I've been told is wrong, and they see a new angle on things. I know I've had a couple of messages, and I'm not going to share them, but I got a couple of messages from people that did not vote for President Trump. They now follow me on social media, and they said, look, I admit it, I didn't vote for him, and now, even now, looking at the way things have been, I feel bad that I didn't vote for him. I'm realizing a lot of different issues that I didn't think were relevant, but now I see how they are. So that's what it's about. We got to move that needle. So, as I said, share the episode, but for sure, do not forget to hit that subscribe button and tell others to do so as well. So, look, there's a lot of back and forth that I've been getting today. I got a lot of questions on the border. Hey, is it secure? Is it not secure? I said it. It's way, way more secure than it was under the last administration, but the job isn't done. It's obvious because, if you've heard on the news, they're sending more agents over to Laredo, Texas. Why are they doing that? Because they know that groups are still coming across in that area. So, they're going to have to concentrate more agents in that part of the country. But look, we're in Arizona. I'm in Arizona. And I've always talked about it, and I've always shared the views with people and tried to explain it to them. Arizona, because of the reservation, continues to be that pipeline for drug trading, for human smuggling. There was an article that I posted on social media. I put it in my stories, and I said, welcome to the party, because some news outlet is saying that the corridor in Arizona is the main corridor for the Sinaloa cartel to bring their drugs. Folks, I've been talking about this for decades upon decades. So I don't know. I mean, it's not news, I don't think, but it is something that we need to continuously be aware of, because this is an area where you are seeing gotaways. This is an area where you're still seeing the drugs coming across. And I got a question on something concerning the Trump administration, and they said, look, Trump said, he's going to go, it's an all-out war against the drug traffickers. Nothing's off the table. He's going to try to hit their pocketbooks, the main bosses, just everything, like just going all out. And they asked me, what do you think? I think it's good to see an administration that is actually doing it. And the reason I say that is we've seen the indictments against sitting politicians in Mexico. That had never been done before. We're seeing some of this more southbound traffic that's being looked at. That hadn't been done before. So you're seeing an administration that is serious, and it's not just about a T-shirt that says, just say no, or the drug or the war on drugs. He's actually moving forward and getting stuff done and going after them, and it's very important. And I'm just going to share a real quick story with you guys. So, back when I was still on patrol, we would constantly end up arresting people that brought drugs across into the United States. And for the longest time, agents would get very frustrated because they would call to get these individuals prosecuted, and agents had to jump through hoops in order to get an actual prosecution. And by jump through hoops, I mean, so if you'd be chasing a group in the middle of the desert and they drop their backpacks, with drugs, that would be one of the things that the prosecutors would come and tell the agent, well, did you actually catch him with the drugs? Well, no, he dropped it, he saw me, and he ran. So little things like that prevented them from getting prosecuted. And then there was a threshold where the agents knew that if they were arresting people that had under 400 pounds of marijuana, let's say, they wouldn't get prosecuted. So there was so much frustration amongst the agents, and they went through a period where agents, in order to arrest these people, bring them in, bring in the drugs, and then go back out on patrol. I'm not going to say they weren't taking drugs. Agents were not doing that, okay? But what a lot of times they would do is they say, okay, so I caught this guy away from the drugs. It's obvious that it's his drugs, but I can't prove it. And by not being able to prove it, I'm not going to get a prosecution. So they would charge the people that they detained for being illegal, and then they would take the drugs in. They would go through all the proper paperwork and bring that in as a seizure. But they knew that the alien that they arrested near the drugs was not going to get prosecuted. So there was no way to make that connection. Because of that, then Internal Affairs at that point came after the agents and said, hey, you're not doing your job correctly, because you're supposed to try to tie that drug load with those individuals that you arrested, even though they weren't going to get prosecuted. So the agent was doing it so he can go back to the field, catch more people in here illegally, catch more drugs. But in the end, they're the ones that ended up getting in trouble because they didn't go the extra steps to try to link the drugs with the people that they arrested. And I think what should have been done is they should have gone after the prosecutors for failing to prosecute these people when they were linked. So that was a big back and forth that I remember back in the day. And I believe some agents, I believe lost their jobs and others were demoted. I think we need to revisit those cases. And I know it's been years, some of them over a decade, but revisit those cases and say, wait a minute, was that really right? Was that really right to go after the agents when the entire time we should have been going after the prosecutors for failing to prosecute these individuals? So those are just some of the, a real quick story of the frustration that agents constantly faced under other administrations. Thankfully, we're seeing now that this administration is serious about, going after the drug dealers and going after, the smuggling organizations and everything that you see. So I think that's why it's diminished the amount of entries. It's diminished the amount of drugs coming in. And at the same time, you're seeing more agents instead of the processing areas. You're seeing those agents being able to be in the field and arrest and be more, of enforcement where you're arresting people coming in or deterring. Deterring is always a big deal. But again, I'm going to continue to harp on this because I need you all to understand midterms are important. It could all go away if we have the wrong people in office. We've taken too many steps forward. Let's not take any steps back. So quick, that was a quick story so you guys can see what's going on. I had the honor and privilege to be out with the sheriff in Pinal County, Sheriff Teeple, a fantastic individual. His entire group, the group that was there was amazing. So it was really good being there with them. Congressman Abe Hamadeh was there as well. Just a fantastic individual. So, we're still out here. We're still grinding. We're still trying to get as many stories out as possible because you have the right and the need to know the truth of what's going on our nation's borders. And look, I see other people that now have jumped on the bandwagon and they want to do the YouTubes. More power to them. I used to be that guy that I'd be like, just listen to me. I'm the one that's right. People, you're going to find out, who's right and who's wrong. What is that app? The TMU. TMU exists for a reason. So I guess some people want the TMU versions of things. I'm here to tell you the truth as a lifelong Arizona resident, lifelong border, advocate. I've been on the border for a long time. I consider myself a border advocate, but because I want the right things done on our nation's borders, and that's security of our borders. So subscribe and share. And hopefully all these other people that are trying to get their nicks realize, hey, they need to get back in the kitchen and make their burritos and tortas and whatever else they need to do on their off time. But leave the border security issues and the real stories to those people that have actually lived it day in, day out. I think we deserve that type of respect. On that note, till next time, stay safe and God bless.